Mike, they're live. Oh, don't say anything yet. Got to make sure we do it right.
Good afternoon and welcome to AM News Network presents Summary Judgment. I'm attorney Rachel Baird. I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Peruta, president of American News and Information Services, Inc. We are transmitting live from the American News Studio here in Harwinton, Connecticut. Good afternoon, Ed.
Good afternoon, Rachel.
I do like the new opening. Congratulations.
Well, we made it shorter, and just want to say this. I want to apologize for any confusion there was with Howard last week. But when he calls in, he's going to get through, and I'm going to let him say his piece. But I just want to apologize because we have been, if you notice, moving things around a little bit.
Right.
So,
there's a lot I want to talk about this week.
Oh.
The first thing I want to put out there, though, because I know people have busy schedules and they need to plan ahead, but we are going to have the inaugural American News Now Conference and Banquet in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, the home of American News, on September 21st, 2019.
It's planned.
It's planned. We're going to have speakers. We're going to address the present and future of News Now, where it is, where it's going, and how it can impact the country in terms of keeping government officials accountable and monitoring their activities so they are accountable. And so for those of you out there who would like to come to Rocky Hill, and those of you already in the area, if you want to save that date, we'll be following up on some details later. We're hoping, of course, to have J.C. Playford here, and I don't see why he would not be here.
Well, let me add to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I have to acknowledge my thanks to Dave Warden, News Now Houston.
And perhaps he'll be able to make it.
Perhaps Dave will be able to get up here. But there is a movement in this country, and I'll give you an example. News Now San Diego, there is a video in the Welton Mohawk Water District just outside of Yuma, Arizona, where J.C. Playford walked into the lobby and began to ask questions and was told he had to leave and he couldn't videotape, yada, 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 yada.
Now, is this the video that's about 1 minute and 14 seconds long? Or is it
I believe it is.
Okay, well, I'm going to send that to Master Control and see if we can get that up. But you go ahead.
Okay, so I did some research and found that I don't have it here. I sent an email to JC and I sent a copy of you to you this morning.
Yes, I'll pull it up.
Can you pull it up?
I will. Hold it.
I would like to read, if I can.
That's going off to Master Control. There we go. Send anyway, and then go to your email.
Open up the email.
Here we go. To whom it may concern.
Right.
There
if
you
I
go.
could read this email. YouTube sent a email to J.C. Playford saying that he needed to take down the video, and I'm going to see if I can
The one we're about to show?
I think the one we're about to show. Okay? Let me just get it. I just want to make sure I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I may not have it, okay? They wanted JC to have releases, video or releases from those people to appear on his YouTube channel. Like I give everybody permission to take this segment of my conversation and use it on television, social media, or whatever. Sign a release, like a talent release.
There's a big difference between those people who were in a public place and being recorded and us and whatever applies to YouTube.
There is a big difference because it goes like this. I wrote, to whom it may concern, this email is a response to your demand for information within 5 days. Respectfully, Edward A. Peruta, American News and Information Services Incorporated, 860-978-5455. I respectfully request that you provide J.C. Playford and American News with evidence that the recording in the Welton Mohawk Irrigation and Drainage District is prohibited, together with any requirements that releases be obtained from publicly employed individuals who either provide or attempt to deny access to public records or information. If provided with a law or regulation that provides Arizona public employees the right not to be recorded while performing their public duties, we will immediately remove the video clip in question. If in fact YouTube requires all producers of content to obtain releases from public officials who do not want their comments recorded, please provide the specific rule so that we may evaluate all video clips posted on YouTube. The video in question was captured by J.C. Playford, a duly authorized representative of American News and Information Services. The Welton Mohawk Irrigation and Drainage District is a public agency under Arizona law. The video was recorded during a visit during normal business hours to the public agency / political subdivision office. At no time did Mr. Playford enter a non-public area of their offices. The first question that must be addressed and answered is this: did the public employees recorded by Mr. Playford have the right to refuse access to Mr. Playford, order him to leave the public lobby simply because he was recording, and are their comments protected from recording or exposure by posting on the internet or any other means of social media? And I give a web page, and it goes, this is regarding the Welton Mohawk Water District. The district was created by an act of the Arizona State Legislature on July 23, 1951. It was organized to provide a legal entity which could enter into a contract with the United States to repay the cost of this irrigation and power project, and to operate and maintain the project facilities. Congress authorized the irrigation features on July 23, 1947, as the Welton Mohawk Division of the Bureau of Reclamation Gila Project. President Truman signed that legislation into law on July 30th, 1947.
And that's at their website you're getting that from.
I got it down from their website. The district, comma, as a political subdivision of the state,
Yep.
comma, is similar to a city or county.
Yes.
It has a corporate boundary, in parentheses, a city limit, and its qualified electorate, owners of irrigatable land within its municipal corporate boundary, vote for a 9-person governing body or board of directors. In addition to its political corporate status as an irrigation district, Welton Mohawk also holds the franchise for power distribution in the local area. The boundary of power franchise area does not coincide with the district's irrigation boundary. The two functions are distinct and subtly different in their political basis. Am I okay?
Yes.
As a municipal corporation, the district has the dual advantage of being a single operator with jurisdiction over the entire project and having authority to levy taxes for the purposes of operation and maintenance and for the repayment of the project construction costs, in parentheses, now completely retired.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I then went to California's public records law.
Oh, this is just getting more and more interesting.
And it
Ed.
says
Keep going.
6.2.
I could listen to this all day.
6.2.1.2.
Oh,
Persons subject to public records law. The public records law applies to, quote, any person elected or appointed to hold an elective or appointed office of any public body or any chief administrative officer, head, director, superintendent, or chairman of any public body. ARS section 39-121.01 in parentheses, capital A in parentheses 1, period.
mm-hmm.
Public body is defined as, quote, this state, any county, city, town, school district, or political subdivision, or tax-supported district in this state.
I wonder if that means if they're sued, they have qualified immunity.
Any branch, department, board, bureau, commission, council, or committee of the foregoing, and any public organization or agency supported in whole or in part by monies from this state or any political subdivision of this state, or expending monies provided by this state or any political subdivision of this state, IDA 2. This definition differs from and is more inclusive than the term public body, as defined in this state's opening meeting law.
Why don't we watch the video and take a break from
I'm
all this
almost done with
legalese,
this.
Ed?
I'm almost done
You're
with
making
this.
my head spin.
This definition differs from the more inclusive term public. Okay, defined, and therefore records made or received by that office are records of the state, subject to the requirements discussed in this chapter. By definition, the employees of public officers and public bodies are also bound by the public records law.
Excellent.
Which tells me,
Yeah.
J.C. Playford, as a duly authorized representative of American News,
Well, as anybody, correct?
entered into a public lobby of a public agency and began to request either records or information. One or more people came out into the lobby and confronted J.C. Playford, told him he couldn't record, told him to get out, told him to leave, told him to do whatever. Now, what they had the option to do was to turn the fuck around and walk back into their office and not talk to him. They don't have to talk to him. They don't have to make statements to him. They could have just walked away.
Yeah, but what if a citizen is there asking questions pertinent to irrigation and water, and it's part of their job to respond, so they do have to, they're obligated to talk then. Are you saying that would be an exception to recording them? I don't think it matters if they talk or not.
Mr. Playford probably would have gone to Plan B. We'll wait till you have a board meeting. When there's a portion of the board meeting open to the public, I will go to the podium and I will ask my questions and state my concerns, whatever they may be. But I believe in this video, he's accused of being a representative of some private individual who's got some bitch against the water company. Now, the way JC works is this. People bring him information. He evaluates it. They bring us information. We evaluate it. And then we begin to talk about it, or we begin to investigate it, like I did here. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I begin to go like this. Who the hell does YouTube think they are to simply take a complaint from anybody without doing any legal research at all and say, you got to take it down, you got to respond within 5 days with a release from these individuals that you had permission to videotape them and put their image and their voices up on social media? J.C. Playford is a bona fide, authorized representative of American News. American News is recognized by the Connecticut Judicial Department. We've had White House access to President-elect Donald Trump. We've got media credentials from the White House. And J.C. Playford is one of us. He is a News Now San Diego, News Now Yuma, News Now wherever the hell he's standing representative of the citizens media.
Okay, let's go to the video. I hope this is the right one.
I hope it's the right one.
Yeah, if it's not, we'll find the right
We'll
one.
find it.
Later on about trash and stuff that was created by this event. Today it's March 14th. Okay, I'm just logging this in. Okay, I hear the water district might have had a meeting with its people, and I think at the end of this thing the water district might try to accuse these people of leaving trash around that's popping their tires and creating problems. But we're getting word that they had a meeting with their people already before the event, and they broke out all these crazy little stupid things like screws and nails and little pieces of metal or whatever. But these are things that are going to fall off work trucks all the time that belong to the water company. Okay, these roads, take a look. There's nothing out here. We're literally in the middle of nowhere. Look behind me. We're in the middle of nowhere. Okay. The only thing comes out here, people have to be out here. Okay? So I want it down on record in advance that I believe the water company might try to file some false claims later on about trash and stuff that was created by this event, while they have the trash before the event even starts. Think about that.
So I believe that there is an update to that video, that he follows up on the story and goes inside the water company. I don't know if we're going to play it over again to have all the sound going on, but JC may call in as well to further talk about the story that Ed is following closely.
We found it.
We found the right one?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Dan's
Good.
going to be able to find the right one.
Good. So that was a successful trip back
It
to
was a
Master
successful
Control.
trip. So I did my homework, and there was a slight conversation in Master Control, and I am going to agree with Master Control.
Oh boy, what did they say back there? What did the team say?
Where the water company can say whatever they want to say in their lobby, what they can't do is prevent somebody from walking in who's not threatening them with a gun or whatever.
Oh, well, that's what I said. They can, yeah, of
But
course.
YouTube and Google, who owns YouTube, can deny anybody use of their channel they want for whatever reason.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen is people are going to start looking at YouTube almost as an arm of the government that wants to control the narrative. And once that happens, then YouTube is going to be supplanted by the next thing that allows people to say what they're going to say. People are always going to find an outlet to say what they're going to say. And if YouTube keeps trying to control it and increases their efforts to control, because who's behind YouTube? Who is the real who's the real voice of YouTube? I don't agree. And I'm going to talk more about this college bribery scandal. And when you hear some of the details that haven't been widely reported in the news because it's such a big story, you begin to think that there are people out there with lots and lots of money that control everything, and the people don't control anything.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the case with YouTube.
Let me just say this to you. For every dollar that a YouTube producer may generate with their YouTube account, Google's making two, at least two. For every $1 the producer makes, YouTube's making two or more. They're making money off of us making money. They're making money off of, it's like American Pickers. They go around into some broken down barn in Iowa and they find these pieces of antiques that they pay for. They bring it back, they put it in their shop, they double the price and then lower the price and make 50% return on their items. And they're not buying wholesale, retail, or whatever. There's people that give things to Goodwill. Goodwill sells them and makes money. Okay? They're given to Goodwill. This is good, this is bad, we have to throw that away, but we can sell this. Salvation Army stores do it, everybody does it. YouTube takes social media content, like our show. We put it up on 3 channels, News Now Houston, News Now San Diego, and Summary Judgment Talk Show. And people either watch or they don't watch. They put commercials on our program. We don't have any control over who the advertisers are or who the advertisers are not. Now, there is, and this is a strategy. Let's start going after the advertisers. Let's watch it. Whose advertising appeared on Summary Judgment Talk Show? And let's call up those advertisers and say, we don't like Mr. Peruta's language. We don't like the way Mr. Peruta's hair is cut. We don't like the way Attorney Baird dresses. We don't like the way the background is in their show. And we're not going to buy your car. We're not going to buy your soap. We're not going to buy your deodorant. Whatever. Well, then the advertiser starts calling up YouTube and saying, well, we're getting a lot of calls from people. When you've got 150,000 subscribers to a YouTube channel like News Now Houston, when you've got 30,000 subscribers like News Now San Diego, when you've got 1,668 like Summary Judgment Talk Show, okay? There may not be a lot of viewers to generate a lot of calls to advertisers, but you want me to tell you the truth? I've never taken a fucking dime from YouTube for doing this show.
Okay.
But I know that for YouTube to tell us that we have to have, or JC has to have, a release to show the image or the comment, or to play the comments made by a public employee in a public library, in a lobby, in a public building, in a political subdivision of Arizona, is bullshit.
How did they communicate that to JC?
In an email.
They sent an email to him?
Sent an email to JC. Matter of fact, I can read it to you.
Yeah,
He sent it to me last night, and I'm going to read the email. Let me get the email up. No, it's a Gmail. It's a Gmail.
And did it come just from anybody in particular?
It came from the YouTube support team.
YouTube
disputes plus blah, 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 blah at google.com.
Okay, don't read too fast.
Says,
I want to hear this.
Hello. Please provide us with a copy of the individual's privacy waiver or consent form for your production within 5 business days, and we will fully consider the merits of your claim. In the event we do not receive further information from you, as requested above, please be advised that we may remove your content. Sincerely, the YouTube team.
Now, let me ask you a question.
And I responded.
Do they mean remove just that content that is under dispute, or do they mean all content? That's a little ambiguous. Remove
I would
your
imagine
content.
they're going to take down the clip of J.C. Playford playing
right
that he recorded in the public lobby of
and
the
then
political
maybe he'll get some
subdivision office.
strike against him or something.
Hey, get some strike against them. But you got to understand something. Here it is. So let's.
Okay.
I'm going to be quiet.
Videos. Do not film.
Well, you
have
can't
no,
tell
you have
me-
no permission to film in this building. You have no permission to film me.
This is a government building, is it
It is
not?
not a government building. It's a private facility.
It's a private
It is
facility.
not a. It is not a public. it's
Public's
not a public
allowed
facility.
here?
It's not
Public
a-
comes
it is
in
not
here?
a public facility.
You tell me I don't have a right to film in this
You
building?
do not film in here.
I can't?
You cannot film in here.
I can't? Okay.
You do not have permission to film me. You do not have permission to film in this building.
Okay, would you like to talk to me outside?
No, I'm not going to talk to you.
Can you tell me what law says I can't
Do
film
not
here?
film in this building.
I can legally film
You
here.
cannot film in this building. This is a private facility
Private facility open to the public.
for people that
follow-
have business here.
I do have business.
You have no business here.
I do have business.
You're not a customer. At any rate, I've seen your videos.
Okay.
I consider you to be an agent of Dan Miller.
Oh.
Dan Miller has threatened legal action against the district.
Oh, well,
Therefore, I am concerned
E.
that
coli.
anything. Shut up.
E. coli.
Therefore, I'm concerned that anything
You claim
I say
E.
to
coli.
you can be held against. Can be.
Well, anything you
against it.
say to anybody can always be held against you.
I will not talk to you or any agent of Dan Miller without an attorney present.
Oh, are you an attorney?
You're trespassing on this facility.
I'm trespassing?
You're trespassing. You're not a customer.
Okay,
You're not a
so,
resident. This is a district facility. Leave. You do not
there-
leave, we'll have you removed for trespassing.
oh, okay. And can you tell me what laws you're using? Here, folks, these are the people who are scared of us. Here's your IT guy. Your name is Elson. Sir, I heard that your secretary is married to one of the commissioners. Is that true? The same commissioner that started the denial of their licenses? Is that acting as an agent, or is that asking questions of concern for the public? Because you are an elected official, aren't you?
No, I'm not.
You're appointed?
I'm an employee of the district.
You're an employee of the district. That'll work, sir. And you're telling me I can't be in this building, or I'll be arrested?
I'm telling you, you're trespassing.
Okay,
I'm
sir.
asking you to leave.
You have a business card, sir?
I do not.
You got a business card? Then he's got, well, we're in your office. Can somebody give me a business card?
No.
So I can make sure I have the proper spelling of your name?
That's quite right.
I'm entitled to the proper spelling of your name.
It's on the bulletin board over here. You take it.
Okay. On the bulletin board, you told. I don't see your name. Where's your name? I don't see Elston up there.
It's on the board. All the information you need. As I said, I consider you to be an agent of Dan Miller. Dan Miller has threatened lawsuit against the district. I'm not talking to you
Well,
without
that's
an
why I'm
attorney.
here, because this has a lot to do with the entire area. That's why we're here. We're not agent anybody. We're here because there's a battle brewing in this town. You're accusing them of maybe possibly creating E. coli, that their party shouldn't be there. Maybe they should check the employees. Don't you think they should check them for health? Don't you think maybe you should have better habits on our food system that you're feeding to America? You want to try to push it towards bikers now? Is that how that works? Because that's the way it kind of read in the newspaper yesterday. E. coli, that's not a problem created by an event. That's created by what's happening with your food.
Could you step aside?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes, sir. And you have a very nice day, sir. Because you'll be hearing.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I have to hand it to that, whatever it is, water district.
Yeah.
They do have a board there listing people's names.
They do.
That's a step in the right direction.
They do.
And-
All the information you need is right there.
Right,
I got to come in to get it.
right.
Can I come in with a camera?
I don't know much about what Dan Miller is alleging, or if he's
Well,
actually
this
brought a
is-
lawsuit
this is-
or not.
this is-
But if they're treating JC differently because they believe he's an agent of someone who has litigation against them, almost seems like they're retaliating against Dan Miller for bringing up a claim or litigation in court.
Well, this is everything I heard. Okay?
Yeah.
It is a public building. The law says it's a political subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether he's elected, appointed, or employed, okay, he is an employee of a political subdivision. They could have turned around and just walked back into their offices behind what looks like closed doors. Now, what happened was this. When this went down, JC called me on the phone, sent me a copy of the video. I watched the video, and I called the Welton Mohawk Water District. Secretary answered the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I said, ma'am, do you have a public information officer? Who are you? I said, I'm Ed Peruta from American News. I'm not authorized to answer any questions. I said, ma'am, I'm asking, do you have a public information officer who would have the authority to talk?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not authorized to say anything to you. I said, okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you have an office of legal counsel that I can contact someone?
They do. I saw it on the board.
My eyes aren't as good as yours.
I did. I saw that.
My question is, I'd like to speak to someone in your office of legal counsel. Okay? I'm not authorized to give you any information.
Well, it's right on the board in their lobby.
All I'm saying is this. YouTube obviously got a call from a human being who says, I was videotaped and I told him not to videotape me, and he videotaped me anyhow. Sir, what's your status? Were you a member of the public that was harassed in a public lobby? Or do you work for the public agency?
Mm-hmm.
Did you come out to confront J.C. Playford? And I heard a conversation about, this is a public building, this is a public lobby,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm recording. Are you authorized? You're the IT guy. Who are you?
Well, I mean, this kind of goes back to last week, what we were discussing. If something is happening in the public, what prevents you from recording it? So,
you know that several years back, the state police laboratory was going to be decertified because their forensic lab was screwed up. And there was an FBI report, or an IG's report, on the Connecticut Crime Lab. And I went down to state police headquarters at 8:30 in the morning and I asked for a copy during normal business hours. And they said, well, we can't give it to you. And I said, okay, I'm going to sit right over there on a sofa and I'm going to wait until 4:30 this afternoon until I get the document I'm looking for. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be typing an FOI complaint. Then I'm sitting here waiting. Within an hour, it was put in my hand and I got to leave. But they didn't say I couldn't sit in the state police lobby and wait for the information I was requesting. They told him he had to leave. They told him he was trespassing.
they told him he was trespassing.
You don't trespass in a public library.
In a lobby.
Lobby. What did I say?
A library.
Yeah, whatever. That's bullshit. So we've told the story.
Okay, we're done with that.
We're done with that.
I think we're going to move on now.
Time to move on.
Unless JC calls and we want to revisit it. I found the most interesting analysis on LinkedIn of this whole controversy that the Democrats are raising about whether we should get rid of the Electoral College.
Huh.
And the statistics here, if true, and I'll stand corrected if they're not, but I just found it so compelling when I read this. It's posted by a gentleman named Tom Mills on LinkedIn, and I'm not quite sure who he is, but I want to give him credit for posting this. And he says, for all the people who fell asleep in civics class, number one, there are 3,141 counties in the United States. Trump won 3,084 of them. Clinton only 57. Could that be true?
Absolutely. And I'll give you why. Dade County, Florida. Miami and all of the populated area of South Florida. whatever county Orlando's in, I think it may be in Orange County, whatever, the county that Orlando's in, heavily populated area of Florida, okay? The coastal cities, the coastal counties of Florida, not the internal sparsely populated counties. Whatever county Atlanta, Georgia is in, whatever county Columbia, South Carolina is in, whatever county, and there's that
Cook County.
whatever county you would know, whatever county has that.
Well, no, Cook County, Illinois. Yeah,
Cook County, Illinois has
another-
Chicago,
Right.
and Nassau County in New York. In other words, you can win 57 of 3,100 counties and have almost all of the popular vote because of those 57 counties.
And they control the whole United States.
They could, in fact, control the entire United
has
States.
happened here in Connecticut.
Right,
in a
like has
smaller
happened here in
version.
Connecticut.
Right. The cities control everybody in Connecticut.
Let's look at something that is as almost as far away as you can get. The state of Hawaii has Oahu, the island of Oahu. The island of Oahu has the majority of population in the state of Hawaii. Maui doesn't have that many. The Big Island is the biggest island and probably has some of the fewest other than Molokai. Okay? So, Lanai and those smaller islands. But if you've got Honolulu County, Honolulu,
You don't care about
and
anybody
Oahu,
else.
why should I even go up to Lanai and Politic? I just got to win Oahu.
Well, somebody was saying that on the news a couple days ago, Hartford is trying to have one of the
Presidential
debates here. And why on earth would Trump set foot in Connecticut? Except Greenwich, Fairfield County to collect some money. But otherwise, why? Why would he set foot in Hartford, Connecticut? Can you think of a reason why? I mean, he did, I guess, that one time.
No.
Okay.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
You're just saying that
And I'll
because you
tell you
wanted
why.
to come.
Now, out in the Pacific, we have the Mariana Chain, the Mariana Islands.
The trench.
Mariana Trench.
Very deep.
We have the island of Guam. It's a territory. We have Samoa. There's a little tiny island. World War II made it famous. It's Wake Island. There is nothing on Wake Island. There's no city. There's no population to speak of. But if every television station in the world is going to cover a presidential debate, and that presidential debate is going to be held on the island of Wake in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, Donald Trump will go there because that is the hub to get out to the world electronically with the media. So
that's what counts.
if Hartford, God please stay away from Hartford, but if Hartford was to have a presidential debate, okay, one, you're not going to have a big crowd in any venue because you and I have been to the convention center in Maryland. We've gone to Indianapolis. We've gone to Philadelphia. We've gone to Louisville for the NRA conventions. Those are convention centers. Those are nationally recognized huge venues.
Pittsburgh, beautiful.
Where you Three Rivers, yeah, you can have 100,000 people in the stands, banging their feet, clapping, cheering, doing whatever.
That's a convention, not a debate.
Right, but what I'm saying is, you could have a debate in this room right here.
Right.
You could have a debate in a high school auditorium in any state in the country. And you know what I would do? I would go to, not Chicago, Illinois. I'd go to some venue in the middle of gun territory and have an event and see how many candidates come in and how many armed security guards they bring with them. But what I'm saying is, it's not the name of the community. It's how many news organizations are going to cover and transmit the event, the debate.
Okay. So Next statistic, there are 62 counties in New York State. Trump won 46 of them, and Clinton won 16. That's amazing to think
And
about.
I'm willing to bet you the majority of states, the majority of counties that he won in New York are in southern New York.
Well, we're
and
going to
Long
get
Island,
to that.
Suffolk County, or whatever the counties are, Eric would be able to tell us.
Clinton won the popular vote by approximately 1.5 million votes.
Right.
In the 5 counties that encompass New York City, Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Richmond, and Queens.
Right.
Richmond.
Richmond 6 at Queens.
That's not right. That's got to be a misprint.
Well-
Staten Island. Isn't it? That should be Staten Island. Clinton received well over 2 million more votes than Trump. Trump won Richmond. What does that mean?
Google Richmond, New York.
Yeah, okay. These 5 counties, okay, so therefore these 5 counties alone. Oh, maybe there's a Richmond County in New York.
Right.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was in the city that they were naming Richmond. Okay. Therefore, these 5 counties alone more than accounted for Clinton winning the popular vote of the entire country. So think about that. 5 counties in New York account for this claim that the popular vote was won by Clinton.
Keep reading and it explains it.
Okay. So these 5 counties comprise 319 square miles. The United States is comprised of 3,797,000
You missed something.
square
You
miles.
forgot something. Therefore, these 5 counties alone more than accounted for Clinton winning the popular vote of the entire country.
Right.
In other words, because she won those votes in those 5 New York counties, that's what put her ahead in the popular vote. One area of one state. Now go on and read these 5 counties.
So these 5 counties comprise 319 square miles. The United States is 3,797,000 square miles. So basically 319 square miles under the popular vote would control 3,797,000 square miles. When you have a country that encompasses almost 4 million square miles of territory, it would be ludicrous, I don't like that word, to even suggest that the vote of those who inhabit a mere 319 square miles should dictate the outcome of a national election. Large, densely populated Democrat cities don't and shouldn't speak for the rest of the country, and this is why you have an electoral college. It's a safety net so that everyone's vote counts. Wow. That's pretty persuasive, isn't it?
You know, you've heard me say for several years now that as far as firearm issues go, Newtown, Connecticut, the home of the Sandy Hook tragedy, has failed to vote for a Democratic governor. An anti-gun governor.
Yeah, when our most recent governor was elected, Ned Lamont, we checked that out, and it was consistent with what had happened when Malloy was elected the
That's correct.
second time around. So now we can play with statistics all we want, and I think there are a lot of responses that can be made to what this article says. But I'm just going to read the article for what it says, and then we can discuss probably how you could pick apart what the point it's trying to make. 9 out of 9 cities with the highest murder rates are run by Democrats.
9 out of 9?
9 out of 9. Okay. So you have Salinas, California at number 9, and its mayor is a Democrat, Dave Gunter. You have number 8, Hartford, Connecticut, and its mayor is Luke Bronin. Number 7, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Sharon Weston Broome. Number 6, Jackson, Mississippi, and these are the highest per capita rates, not the highest numbers.
Okay, for those that don't understand that,
I think our viewers
if you have
understand that.
100 citizens and a murder and 10 murders, your murder rate is 10% per capita.
Yeah.
If you have 1,000 residents and you have 100 murders, you have a 10% murder rate per capita. If you have 1 million residents and you have 100,000 murders, you have a 10% per capita murder rate.
For example, in Hartford, Connecticut, the murder rate per 100,000 people is 25.69. And that's number 8.
For every 100,000 people, 25, almost 26 people are murdered every year.
Yeah, and there's only 124,000 people in Hartford, so that's about the number of reported
So
murders.
they're dealing with per capita, not the number, because obviously Chicago should be at the top.
But it's not listed.
It's not
as the top
listed
9.
because per capita wise, the number of people being killed in Chicago is nowhere near 25% of their population.
Yes, true. Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, New Orleans, Louisiana, Detroit, Michigan is number 3. Baltimore, Maryland is number 2. So the murder rate in Baltimore is per 100,000 people, 55.37 per year. And in 2015, they had 344 murders. I believe in some years they've gotten up to 500 or 600 back in the 70s and 80s. St. Louis, Missouri is number 1, 59.29 per 100
Per capita.
thousand people. Now, there's so many variables that you can't say, oh, if the city has Democrats leading it, then that means the murder rate is higher, because as some people point out, you could probably find cities where the murder rate is low and it's a Democratic leadership. So yeah, this is kind of nitpicking, I think. But on the other hand, 9 of the 9 cities with the highest murder rates, it's not like they just picked these out of a basket. They actually said, okay, what are the 9 cities with the highest murder rates? Okay, Democrats lead them. But on the other hand, when the population is above a certain amount, how many Republicans are ever elected as mayor in very large cities? Does it happen anywhere? I mean, we'd have to look it up.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, I mean, are Republicans elected in any cities with large populations?
What is the largest city with a Republican mayor? List of mayors of 50 largest cities in the United States.
So that had to do with what we were talking about.
Well, let's go down the list. New York City.
That's a good one. Salt Lake City.
New York City, Democrat. Los Angeles, Democrat. Chicago, Democrat. Houston, Democrat. Phoenix, Democrat. Philadelphia, Democrat. San Antonio, Democrat. San Diego, Republican. Dallas, Democrat. San Jose, Democrat. Austin, Democrat. Jacksonville, Florida, Republican. San Francisco, Democrat. Columbus, Ohio, Democrat. Fort Worth, Texas, Republican. Indianapolis, Indiana, Democrat. Charlotte, North Carolina, Democrat. Seattle, Democrat. Denver, Democrat. Washington, Democrat. Boston, Democrat. El Paso, Texas, Republican.
Maybe we just need to put Texas aside for the purposes of
Nashville,
this exercise.
Democrat. Memphis, Democrat. Portland, Oregon, Democrat. Oklahoma City, Republican. Las Vegas is an independent. Louisville, Democrat. Baltimore, Democrat.
Oh, please, yes. To
Milwaukee,
Baltimore.
Democrat. Albuquerque, Democrat. Tucson, Democrat. Fresno, Republican. Fresno, California.
You're not going to go
Sacramento,
through all 50,
Democrat.
are you?
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Mesa, Republican. Kansas City, Democrat. Atlanta, Democrat. It goes on and on and on.
Well, there were
Now,
some
let me-
exceptions
no,
in there, though,
no.
and that's what I was
I
asking.
gotta tell you something. I gotta tell you something.
No wonder
In the early
Democrats
90s,
won
in
a
the early
popular
90s,
vote.
in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, Hartford, Connecticut, either in 1989 or 1990, I want to say it was 1989, I believe they had 36 homicides in the city of Hartford.
It's remained steady.
And there I was doing a public access show, and I asked the question, why do parents keep their residents with children in an area of a city where everybody's getting shot?
Yeah. I didn't want to consume the whole show with this, though.
I don't want to consume the whole show with it
Yeah.
either, but it goes like this. Cities,
Because I really vehemently disagree with you about this. I do. Yeah, you can't, people are comfortable where they live. I mean, there are people that didn't want to leave Chernobyl, for God's sakes. So just to tell, especially you, where you come from, Weathersfield, Rocky Hill, people have been there for freaking hundreds of years and don't want to leave. So, to say people should just get up and move somewhere else, it's just not that easy. It's not easy psychologically. It's not that easy financially. It's not easy at all.
How many times have you and I driven down a particular street in a particular community in Connecticut that we consider a city? And I have said to you, Torrington, Connecticut, can you imagine when the mills were working and families were employed and people had the money to keep up their homes and landlords had the money to keep their rental units in good order?
Yeah, but you know what? Things change and things evolve, and there are obstacles as things change and as people get used to it. And so this thing of looking back in time and saying, "Oh, things were so good
Well,
in
then
the
let's
old
look
days,"
forward.
it's just
Let's
I
look
don't
forward.
like that either.
Let's look forward.
Yeah.
What is going to convince Republicans to move into the city? What is going to convince?
Who says there should be cities? Maybe we'll evolve one day and there won't be cities. There won't be a need for cities because we'll interact, socialize, communicate electronically, and cities and the close community that cities evolved because that you needed all your workers there so that they could be in close proximity to the factories, just like the coal miners used to live right near the coal mines and everything. We don't need that anymore. I don't think it's in the Bible or any other book that you follow that cities have to exist. Maybe we won't have cities anymore.
Let me see if I can, and I'm trying to remember your statement. How can a city, and I talked about this last week briefly, like San Francisco, declare themselves to be a sanctuary city where they are encouraging or inviting, opening their arms to illegal immigrants who enter the country illegally to come and live under the protection of the city government of San Francisco.
What's your point? Come on, get to it.
When San Francisco can't support their own citizens, they're inviting people in.
Absolutely, I agree.
Who can't support themselves, which puts the burden onto government to support the people who can't support themselves. And all of a sudden, the roads start falling apart because where's the money going?
Yeah, I mean, a city should only take on more of a burden, number one, if their resources are unlimited. And I don't know of any city whose resources are unlimited, or if they just have a surplus of resources that nobody wants or needs, and so they're just looking to hand it out to somebody else. And I don't know of any city in that position. If you are looking to adopt a child, you are investigated by social services. Your home is visited. You're looked at,
Nick.
and if you already have 10 children living in your home and they are hungry and they're not clothed and you don't have a place where they can sleep, then they're not going to let you adopt another child. I don't care how needy that child is. And let's say you want to, adopt a dog or a cat, and you have a lot of them already, and you're being reported to animal control and everything else, they're going to take those away from you if they think that you're not taking care of them. So why are we treating human beings who are already living in the United States any differently than we would treat a cat, a dog, or an adoption situation? If you look at it that way, it's ridiculous what these cities are trying to do, and it's offensive to people here who are in need already. And I don't know how we got on this subject again, because this is what I want to talk about next.
You're talking about the Electoral College.
Yes.
You're talking about a group of politicians who are now advocating the abolition of the Electoral College, to the elimination of the Electoral College, and to put it on to the popular vote. These are the exact same people who are trying to pass legislation to allow illegals to vote.
Right. So they not only do they not care about people in this country that are going without and need help, they don't care about the people that are coming in that are going to need help, because they want people to be in that terrible position, because they're going to give them some sort of false hope that if you vote for me, I'll fix it. Right? And that's an ongoing theme with the show. We shouldn't repeat that every week, but I guess it's in the news
But it
now,
is.
so
But
we
you
will.
know something? If somebody doesn't keep talking about it and keeping the conversation up here, it's going to go out the door, and it's going to be, okay, who's doing what? And I always use the example. In the summer of 2001, a congressman in California was accused of killing Sandra Levy, his intern, in Washington, D.C. Everybody was after him. But when those planes hit the tower, that congressman had to sit back and say, boy, I'm not the top of the news anymore. Thank God I'm not on a... He wasn't glad that the planes hit the tower. He was glad that he was off the news cycle. There are groups of people in this country who try to keep the news cycle going over and over and over and over again. I mean, the Mueller report has been
That's
released.
But we want the whole thing
But
now.
let's talk about the Electoral College. The colonialists, the founding fathers, were having arguments similar to our discussion right now. Is that if we don't find a way to balance the state's interest in being part of the electoral process for a president, then why should we even go to the polls? New York, at the time it was New York, Boston was a hub. New York was a hub. Philadelphia was a hub. I don't even think the South had any major hubs. Do you understand what I'm saying? Florida was a bunch of swamps, okay? Maybe Atlanta, but your port cities. In colonial days, the port cities had large cities built around imports and exports of goods from this country. And a lot of people were working, and they went up the rivers and they built mills that were powered by water, and then there was steam, then there was electricity, and then we started to expand, and then we had wars where factories were built and towns built up around the factories in the war communities, in the war periods. But what I'm saying to you is this: the Electoral College was a thought process in the minds of the founding fathers to keep some kind of balance so that that person who lives in Montana or Wyoming, where it was sparsely populated, would have some equal standing in choosing the President of the United States. And now there are people who are trying to game the system, who are trying to change the rules so that they can sit there and say, you know something, if we can get rid of that Electoral College and we strictly go on the popular vote, one, we're only going to have to politic in the high-profile areas. Indian River County, Florida. My son Michael lives down there. And a major event happens in Indian River County, Florida. And the closest TV station to cover news in Indian River County is 60 miles south in West Palm Beach. They don't send a crew up to cover something in Indian River County. Or it's in Orlando, and they're not going to send somebody all the way to Indian River County to cover an event. They got enough stuff going on in their own town. West Palm, the coast down there, Fort Lauderdale, Orange County, the shooting at the gay nightclub. You know, they got enough news going on. We don't even have to cover the stuff going on in the small community. And how do the people in the smaller communities have equal standing in society if they don't have the resources? And the one thing that I think is starting to level the playing field is that camera, the equipment and master control, the YouTube, the Facebook, the social media, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. They're able to take small stories, because now I'm sure that if you go to the page it says trending now. CNN will have trending now. What are the hottest YouTube stories? What are the hottest Instagram or Twitter? You know, Twitter lights up when something happens. Mm-hmm. I mean, AOC, what's her name? Acosta Ono, whatever.
Right.
She puts together a fucking piece of furniture from IKEA, and there's a YouTube and it goes viral. Mm-hmm. That's news.
Okay. So 2.5 years ago, I think it was Father's Day 2016, and this is along the same lines, you recorded a motor vehicle accident.
I did.
It was 2016, right?
It was.
I'm pretty sure. And it was a fatal. It was a car, early morning hours, driven by two young men who, when they were stopped or attempted to be stopped by a police officer, they drove away in Rocky Hill, Connecticut. And early, not that early though, that people wouldn't have been out. It was like
5 a.m.
Yeah, 5 a.m. They drove 106 miles an hour through
four-way intersection.
Four-way intersection.
Flashing red lights and big stop signs.
Down a residential neighborhood. I mean, they weren't on the highway. This is a residential neighborhood.
Hit a bump in the road.
Yep, and smashed into a tree.
Flew off to the left and put the car around a tree that you couldn't tell what kind of car it was other than it was white.
And, you know, eventually they found 50 bags of heroin in the trunk. Or was it 500? I can't remember if it was 50 or 500
bags.
Yeah, it was a lot. And so it kind of gave you an idea why they might have been taken off from the police officer. There were Facebook photos or social media photos of earlier that evening, what they'd been engaged in, some partying, I guess you could call it. You lived right around the corner. You still live in the same place. And
I live less than a mile away.
And you responded, and you were right up on top of it recording it.
In the middle of the scene with a tripod and a camera, and I videotaped the deceased in the driver's portion of the car hanging out of the car, and a passenger taken out of the car, put on a stretcher, and put it into an ambulance and taken to a helicopter.
And you put it up on YouTube.
I most certainly did.
And the mother of the passenger,
filed suit.
Filed a lawsuit against American News.
Did.
And wanted you to take it down. And there were a lot of comments.
And I believe there was a complaint made to YouTube that it was offensive, it was obscene, it was whatever. And I sent back to YouTube and said, this is the real world. I'm Ed Peruta from American News. I'm showing the people exactly what happens when you run from police. And it's still up there.
Well, and we litigated it. We filed a motion to strike, which is basically like a motion to dismiss, saying you can't make a claim, protected by the First Amendment. We used a case out of Arizona. Fox News was in a helicopter following a car chase, and the man stopped the car and pulled a gun out and killed himself. And Fox News was live streaming, and it went right out.
Right.
You know, and I think the son of the man who killed himself sued or something. And that court said protected by the First Amendment. And we used that case as well. The judge threw out one of the counts but left another one in. And we even have in Connecticut a new law that passed after this incident that says First Amendment, if you bring a lawsuit like this, it gets expedited treatment and it gets thrown out right away if the First Amendment applies. But that was after, that law passed after this incident. So for some reason, the other side just stopped litigating it. I don't know why. And if if there's no action in a case in Connecticut for 6 months, then a judge issues an order and says, somebody's got to do something in this case within a certain time frame. I think it was 2 weeks or something. And if nobody does, it's getting dismissed. And then once it gets dismissed, you have 4 months to reopen. The 4 months passed. It wasn't reopened. So the case is gone.
Dead.
And one of the questions that comes up in a case like that is, why would you record that? And why would you post it up on YouTube? Okay, part 2 of this. We recorded a trial in Connecticut, a murder trial. And
Let me say something before you go any further.
yeah, but these are going to go together.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
We recorded a murder trial in Connecticut, and Ed was given access, but there were certain restrictions, and there were exhibits that came in as full exhibits, pictures of the deceased. And you went to get those pictures, and you were told that you couldn't have them, but they're exhibits that were admitted in open court. So we brought a appellate court action that was expedited because of its nature. And one of the judges on the 3-panel that heard the case asked me, well, why would you want pictures like that? Why would you want them? You know, and I can't remember what I said to her, but I wish I'd had this article at the time, because this article is so persuasive. Did you hear about this?
You told me.
Okay, so Columbine students start campaign to share images of their death if they're killed in gun violence. And they go on to say why.
Well, let me before you do this with them, let
Right.
me just explain something. There is a movie, I believe on Netflix right now, that's Kevin Costner and
The Highwayman.
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 It's about 2 former Texas Rangers. There was a period of time when the Texas Rangers were disbanded by a female governor, and then they were reinstated.
Who knew in 1934 that Texas had a female governor?
Okay, now, part of that film, they didn't have really like video cameras back then, but part of that film at the end shows the actual bullet-riddled bodies of Bonnie and Clyde that were taken at the time. In the end, you know, it shows the pictures of exactly what it shows: the car with the bullet holes, shows everybody sitting there, shows them laying on a slab, it does whatever. Okay?
I guess the car is on display somewhere.
At a casino, some casino someplace. But what I'm trying to say is this. I'm 70 years old. After World War II, the federal government made it a point to video and record the concentration camps of part of the Holocaust, because they wanted everybody to see what our soldiers found when Germany collapsed. I've seen pictures of Mussolini and his girlfriend hanging upside down in a square in Italy, because they wanted everybody to see. And it's my understanding that when Mussolini was caught and hung up like a piece of meat, that's what prompted Hitler to put a gun to his head. Okay? Because he said, that's not going to happen to me. But what I'm saying is this. YouTube is supposed to, if my theory is correct, give real-world, unedited access to information. Now, there's the other side of the coin where there's the fake news and there's the political manipulation by Russians and all of the other stuff, but YouTube gives everyone an opportunity to judge what they're looking at. Is it real? Is it not real? Did it happen? Did it not happen? News Now Houston has 150,000 subscribers. All of a sudden, News Now San Diego has 30,000. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I have to sit back and say to myself, there's a video of body camera footage in the arrest of Sean Foran in a small town in Naugatuck, Connecticut. I think it's had more hits than there are people that live in that town that have watched that videotape of exactly what happened in a private citizen's backyard by government officials in the backyard.
Right.
That is the power of YouTube and Facebook and social media.
Right.
So I have to sit here today and say YouTube has to find a way. Google has to find a way. They don't have to, they're private.
President Playford on the phone?
President Playford.
Hey, JC, it's Rachel and Ed.
Hey, how are you?
Good. We showed a couple of your videos today out of Arizona.
Oh, sweet.
Yep, and Ed's been talking about the communication you got from YouTube. Do you have any comment on that?
YouTube needs to wake up because that's their viewership. When you stop and think of the millions of people that watch these type of videos, if they start doing this type of stuff, they're going to shut everybody down. They just can't pick and choose, you know?
Right.
So I have a kind of a hard time with what YouTube's doing, especially knowing that some of these videos that they're talking about, all of them are in public places, you know? I mean, they've shut down several of my videos in the past, but now we understand what they're doing. I mean, they had an Oceanside police officer one time whined and moaned, so they came at me, and I didn't know we could fight back. Then a border patrolman got caught doing something stupid, and he whined and moaned, and they shut it down, you know? And this is real America. Social media has become what MSN has been afraid of. Because now they can't put a spin on it because now the public sees it firsthand. There's no more of this, what's the word? I've got an elite video here. They don't have it anymore. They don't have the script, the one-on-one. They don't have the breaking news story. They don't have nothing of their own. Right? Because YouTube and social media has changed that.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about that today, and Ed obviously is in complete agreement with you. One comment that I had made was maybe YouTube is becoming so mainstream that there's going to be something else that supplants it that allows people to express their opinions freely.
Right. Because you got to remember, YouTube is owned by Google, and we already know one thing about Google. That's Democratic-owned property there. You know, and it's protected by a lot of guns.
Yep. Whenever something has as much influence and power as Google does, you can bet there are a lot of people behind it trying to control it. No doubt about it. Yep.
Correct. So as far as this whole thing with social media is the real news of today. You can turn off your TV. You got no reason to even look at it. Your forecasters are wrong 80% of the time, so you don't need them. You can just follow the same radar thing they're following. You can find it.
JC, here's what I'd like to see. You ready?
Yeah.
I'd like to see my President Donald Trump send a letter to YouTube saying, I didn't sign a release for these people to use my image or my words. Take it down.
Right.
Unless they have a signed agreement from me, take it down.
Yeah. I mean, is that ridiculous?
Yeah.
I really don't know anybody on YouTube that has a signed agreement. Other than the professional TV shows that posted up 10 years later, you know, and that's through contract, which reminds me, contracts with actors. Why is it that the Screen Actors
Guild
is the biggest union in the world, but they don't screen for drugs?
Oh, please. Well, I think we know the answer to that.
I just thought I'd throw it out there real quick since I got on the issue of actors for a second.
Right. Well, why would a union screen for drugs, though? Unions are the ones that try to protect their membership from employers or screening for drugs, right? So, yeah, a union wouldn't do that. Yeah.
Well, the United Food Workers Union is always urine tests are people.
That must have been an exchange for something
Okay,
with management.
JC, let me.
I don't
let
know
me,
why they would do that.
Let me see if I can play a devil's advocate for a minute here. Let's assume, for argument's sake, that someone from the Welton Mohawk Water District contacted YouTube with a complaint saying all they need to say is this: I was in my place of employment and this individual walked in with a video camera. He was asked to leave, he refused, and he continued to record us when we told him he didn't have the authority to do so. We would like to lodge a complaint.
Yeah, the permission.
Without YouTube knowing anything about the facts, not calling you up. Now, they've asked you for an explanation and given you 5 days, and you saw my response. So I'm saying, are they so quick to pull the trigger without doing any homework whatsoever? And what kind of individuals with what kind of educations are doing these reviews or handling these complaints?
I mean, the first question when somebody makes a complaint like that is, are you a public official? Were you in a public place?
If you're watching the video, you ask the questions that you said, was it a public agency?
Right.
Please explain the logistics of the building, the entity that is occupying the building, and your position with the entity.
Yep.
They're using AI, artificial intelligence.
That's all stuff I kind of asked.
So maybe a real person is not actually reviewing these videos, because I imagine a lot of complaints come in.
Are you ready for this? This whole town was shaken so bad because of my presence with some other government types. But you know what? Here's a question for Yuma, Arizona. Okay? You people elected those people down there. They voted on hate with those motorcyclists. But yet, you have a supervisor who was arrested and found guilty of being a coyote, of smuggling illegal aliens. And one of the biggest problems in America, we have a convicted alien smuggler running the helm. You think about that down there in Yuma, Arizona, and you think about the politics they're playing down there.
Well, if the people elected him, is that what you're saying?
Well, here it is, JC. The man was a coyote. He brought illegals across the border. He got caught. He got tried. He went to court. He either pled guilty or got convicted. He did his time or didn't do his time, and he paid his debt to society as society demanded. And now he's rehabilitating himself, working for a public agency.
Correct. How amazing is that? Gotta love America.
Absolutely.
Gotta
I
love
agree.
America.
Look, I mean, we have a mayor here in Connecticut, Eddie Perez, who was
A former mayor.
the former mayor, Eddie Perez, who was convicted of what? Was he convicted?
I think he was convicted, but then on appeal it was overturned.
Right. And I
But
think he pleaded to something when it came back down.
But the court took away his pension.
They did. So he was convicted of something.
Now we have a mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut.
And well, wait, let me finish the story. And he's reemerging now, and it looks like he's maybe trying to run to be mayor of Connecticut.
And I have no doubt that Eddie Perez will get reelected.
He could. He could.
I think that Eddie Perez stands a good chance of beating Luke Bronin
Absolutely.
in any election in the city of Hartford.
Done such a great job publicly. Why ain't they running for president out of there?
Well, trust me.
Why is anybody smart for seeking higher office?
We have a mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, Joe Ganim, who did federal prison time for corruption, who came back to Bridgeport, ran for public office, and now he's the mayor.
He's the mayor again.
And it's my understanding he has a retired FBI agent that is with him at all times to testify whether he did something or didn't do something, and knows every move he makes, so that he's got somebody to verify, I ain't doing that again.
And again, I'm not sure what that proves. I mean, certainly, if you look at Whitey Bulger and some other things, having an FBI agent around doesn't really assure anything. You know, I'm kind of offended by that premise that if you have an FBI agent or former FBI agent around, then you know, then you're clear and everything's okay. I mean, they can be co-opted as much as anybody else.
Bill Gore's a former FBI agent. He doesn't give a shit about your laws, civil rights, or constitutional freedoms.
I agree. So listen, what's the weather like in Jacksonville?
Right now in Jacksonville, it is absolutely beautiful.
Good. Glad to hear that.
I mean, it is absolutely a beautiful day. I'm gardening naked in the backyard. You know?
You're what?
I'm gardening naked in the backyard. It's an absolute beautiful day.
Wait a minute, JC. You're buck-ass naked in the backyard?
Happens all the time. Shit happens.
Oh, Jesus.
So, JC, we're going to hang up on that note because we're going to continue on with a subject that we were talking about, and that is how...
Hey, well, hold on.
Yep.
If
Go.
any of your viewers would like those personal pictures of JC gardening in the backyard, please contact us.
Oh, Jesus
Yep, our number's right up there, 249.
That'll go viral.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, so just getting back to this theme we have, Columbine, students start campaign to share images of their death if they're killed in gun violence. And this is what the campaign's founder says. She's 17 years old. Her name is Kaylee Tyner. And she told CNN, our country has a history of photography affecting real change.
It does.
Tyner said she was inspired by Emmett Till's death, his legacy, and how that was connected to the painful imagery of his body. His parents insisted the world see the imagery of his death, she said, adding that the image exposed the racial divide in our country and helped usher in the civil rights movement. And, you know, a lot of people would say the same about Vietnam, right? When that got on TV, it ushered in a change and a demand that...
Every parent in this country during the Vietnam War would watch the nightly news hoping never to see their child on television. And I know for a fact that my family watched the news, and and I know the picture of a vehicle with a bunch of people on the back wounded, and my mother thought she saw me on the truck, and I wasn't on the truck. But you're right. It changes the game. It changes the rules. It makes people realize the reality of life.
And I know what angle they're coming at it from, because Parkland survivor and gun violence activist David Hogg posted a picture to Twitter on Friday showing the back of his driver's license, which bore the hashtag #MyLastShot sticker. So I know what angle they're coming at. They're coming at it from, if you see the results of guns and what they can do to people, then people will support stricter gun laws if they actually see it. But you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm not fine with the stricter gun laws, but I'm fine with putting it all out there, no matter what your purpose is. Why should citizens of this country be shielded from the reality of what's going on in this country?
Okay, let me stay on topic. I'm going to stay on topic,
Okay.
but I'm going to talk about a different situation. There was a social media, cable, whatever, called InfoWars.
Oh, this is on topic, yes.
Alex Jones.
Right.
He's being represented by attorney Norm Pattis.
Yep, his new attorney here in
He's
Connecticut.
being sued because he was making claims that what happened in Newtown was a fake and it was all staged. Now, do I think that Newtown was fake?
It was a little more than that he was doing.
Okay,
as
but
alleged,
let's go this route.
Yeah,
Do I think that Newtown really happened? Yes.
absolutely.
But here's what happens. Right away, the government assigns state troopers to be stationed at each home of a victim to keep everybody away. In other words, when you got a state trooper in your house or parked in your driveway and the news media comes up to get a comment and the owner tells you to leave and you don't leave, the trooper arrests you for trespass and takes you away. Now,
Well, how about this? Let me interject because we ran into this in the trial that we recorded up in Litchfield, where the government, under the guise of protecting the victim, tells the media that the victim doesn't want to talk to the media, when in fact the victim may want to talk to the media. So if you're one of the individuals who had from Newtown who had a state trooper sitting outside your house, but maybe you did want to talk to the media, you're not going to talk to the media because you got the state trooper sitting outside your house, and the last thing you probably want to do is make the whole situation uncomfortable and do what you want to do. You're going to acquiesce to what the state wants you to do because, after all, they're the ones on your side, right? And so, really, under the guise of protecting the victim, I think sometimes the government asserts its will on the victim to act the way the government wants the victim to act, and they shut the victim up. And that's what happened in the Patel trial.
that's exactly what
It's
happened.
exactly what happened.
Now, let me continue with Alec Jones and InfoWar. The state puts a trooper at every victim's home. The state seals off Sandy Hook School. The state passes a law that there'll be no autopsy information, there'll be no crime scene photographs released to the public. There is absolutely no public evidence that's obtainable or reviewable by the public as to what happened in that school. And whenever you shut down information, let's use the Holocaust as the example, we're not going to take any pictures of Auschwitz, Buchenwald, and these concentration camps and the piles and piles of dead bodies. We're not going to take a picture. We're not going to take a video. We're not going to let anybody see what happened. But we're going to tell the world this is what went on. And people are going to start saying, well, wait a minute. Did you take any pictures? Did you shoot any video? Do you have any evidence that this is what happened? Show us. Show me. Prove to me. So what happens is...
Because then the question becomes, well, why didn't you take pictures, or why didn't you take video, or why aren't you releasing it? I mean,
exactly.
That's what defense attorneys ask
so
at trial.
Whenever you have an information vacuum, conspiracy theorists begin to say, why? Who, what, why, when, how, whatever. Why? Why don't you have these pictures? I'm going to tell you, if I was anti-firearm, I would have put the pictures of all of those children out there. I would have probably outraged the entire country to the point where everybody would sit there and say, we can't have this happen. But here's my problem. When they start to release photographs of the deceased victim in the middle of the road, I'm going to be the guy that goes like this. You're right. An armed human being shot and killed an unarmed human being. The person was absolutely defenseless. The person could do nothing. It's like that famous female patron, and I believe in the McDonald's, that said she had to leave her firearm in the car while she was sitting with her parents in McDonald's. An armed man came in, killed her parents, and she couldn't fight back. And she testified at Congress. And it was very moving testimony.
It was.
That had she had her firearm, she would have worked to defend herself and others. The media never says an unarmed victim. It always talks about the armed assailant. How big was his gun? How many rounds in his magazine? How many did he shoot? He had a bump stock. He was shooting from a hotel. How many people in Las Vegas, not that they could have, but how many people in Las Vegas had any opportunity to fire back at the window.
Well, along those same lines, what is your opinion about the new law? And I don't know if it's passed yet. At least there's been testimony about it, and I don't know if it's become law yet, where parents, if you have, I think it's a child 16 or under.
18 now.
It's
The
going
law
to be
says
18
18.
or under. You can't keep firearms out loaded or unloaded.
They have to
You
be
ha-
secured.
That they have to be secured.
Well, that was addressed in Heller. I think that one of the comments, is it called Indicta, or the conversation?
Yeah.
Where he says, yeah, I'm going to have the cell phone in one hand, and I'm going to have the gun in the other hand, or there was something along that line. But it goes like this. You have to be ready to defend yourself.
Yeah.
Now, I understand if you're going to leave the house and there's someone under 18 in the house, maybe you want to lock your gun up. But when you're in the house and you have the gun out, I understand that.
If I could just comment on that, there are two odd things going on with regard to age and the military right now. So we're going to raise the age to 18, where you can't have an access to a gun. Are we still allowing people who are 17 into the military?
We are.
Or has that changed?
We are.
I mean, I went in when I was 17 and somebody gave me a gun. Not that I carried it, but, at the range and stuff when I was 17. So that really that's so inconsistent with that. And the second thing is, and this is off topic and then we'll get back.
It's not off topic.
I'm talking about two
It's not
odd
off topic
things
at
that
all.
are going on. All you really hear now everywhere is about women and empowerment. I mean, am I correct? I mean, it's so in your face constantly. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just a reality that nobody can ignore. Women can freaking do anything. And they're powerful. They're smart. They're this. They're that. They're great. They're whatever. Great. That's great. But I don't hear any women out there screaming, because I read an article about, how men, when they get to be a certain age, I think it's 18, and they don't sign up for the draft, how it can impact their opportunities in life, right? How they need to still do it, which is weird. They still have to do it, right? They do. I just read an article this week.
I am aware of a person who was applying for something, and they asked him for his draft papers.
Yeah.
And he goes, and now at 18, he did register for the draft, but he's probably 12 years younger than me, 58. And he's going, where the fuck is that paper now? But I did. But in order to qualify, he had to go and show it. But why have women not had to register
why
for the
aren't
draft?
women out there screaming about the discrimination or how it looks somehow that they're not ready, willing, and able to defend their country, that they're not required to register for the draft just like men? I don't hear any of that talk going on.
That's not the way it works in Israel.
Yeah, no, that needs to happen. It needs to happen. If women want equality, then they need to be equal with all the obligations.
I believe that, well, and again, we have to turn the clock back. Mm-hmm. Okay? I joined the military, I was 17 and 8 months. I joined in August of 1966. I was 17 years old. I went to boot camp. I graduated boot camp. I was too young to be sent into combat because you had to be 18. So instead, they sent me to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and I went on a Mediterranean roundabout, Greek Revolution, 6-day war between Israel and Egypt, and all kinds of training for a year that I'm very thankful for because it helped me in combat. Because I was more mature militarily in how things worked and different weapon systems and how to do things in the military than just some green recruit walking into combat. I mean, I kind of knew what I was looking at, and I knew tactics and helicopters and mines and booby traps and all of that stuff. Now, So I went into combat and I was 18 years old in November of 1967. I turned 19 on January 21st, 1968. The Tet Offensive began a week after my 19th birthday, and all hell broke loose in my life. And for the next 9 or 10 months, I was what I considered to be a very effective combat Marine. To the point where when everybody looked at me, they knew that I had been there longer than anybody else in the unit, that I had like time in country seniority in combat. I went home early. So I came home and I was 19 years old. In October of 1968. I was too young to buy a car. I was too young to sign a contract because the age of the majority in Connecticut was 21. I couldn't buy a beer. I couldn't sign a loan contract to buy a car. I couldn't register a car. I couldn't get married without my parents' permission. I couldn't take a car onto base in North Carolina without a notarized authorization because the car was registered to my mother. All of these things that I could not do. I became a police dispatcher at age 20, and I got promoted to be a patrolman a couple of days after my 21st birthday and was the youngest police officer in the state of Connecticut. Bad job for me, good training, but bad job. I wasn't made to do what people tell me to do in certain circumstances. I just couldn't do it. But all of a sudden they dropped the age down to 18.
What age?
Age of consent in Connecticut. 18-year-olds could drink, 18-year-olds could vote, 18-year-olds could sign contracts. Now they want to move juvenile, back up to 18. Because there was all kinds of these rules on age. And I would sit there and go like this, and I'm going to tell this story. I walked into the house after being picked up at the airport. My mother did not recognize me when I walked in the door after coming home from Vietnam. I went upstairs, I took a shower. I screamed. Everybody came up, the bathroom door opened, the shower curtain opened. I was standing there buck-ass naked. And I said, look, look, look. I thought I had a suntan.
A lot of people naked on the show today.
Listen, I thought I had a suntan. But the dirt was coming off me and going down the drain. I hadn't had a bath in like 2 months, shower in 2 months. I came downstairs and I asked my mother, I said, Ma, can I have the keys to the car? And my mother said, okay, you know the drill. Where are you going with, who you go, where are you going, who you going with, and what are you going to do? And I looked at her.
Well, was it her car?
Absolutely.
Then she had every right to.
Every right in the world, because I wasn't 21.
No,
it was her car.
No matter who's driving your car.
But it wasn't, I couldn't go out and get in my car, because I didn't own one.
Right.
So I looked at my mother and I said, Ma,
this has nothing to do with age.
You have to be kidding me. I have been halfway around the world. I've had people try to kill me.
But it's her car.
I have killed people. I said, I want to take the car now that I'm home, and you're going to drill me about the like when I was 16 years old? And she said, yeah. I said, okay, then here's the answer. I'm going to fucking Friendly's, and I'm going to get a big beef cheeseburger and an order of French fries and an awful milkshake because I haven't had one in a year, and I'm hungry. And I went out and I got it and I came back. Why can't I sit at a bar and have a beer? They used to give me 2 beers a day when I was in combat and I wasn't 21. I used to drink in Italy, Greece, Crete, Malta, and all over the world.
I really started it with
all
this,
over the world. All over the world, I could drink, and I wasn't 21. But I came home to Connecticut, to the United States, and I couldn't drink a beer. I couldn't buy a car. I couldn't register a car. I couldn't do shit until I was 21 years old. Now, I said, you come home with an honorable discharge with a combat action ribbon or a rifleman in the Army they give you a rifleman thing that you've been in combat. God damn it, you've earned the right to have a beer.
It should almost be like emancipation when you're 16.
The minute you are sworn into the military, you are emancipated.
Well, but you just said it's only if you get out with an honorable. So that's
But the minute you join the military and graduate boot camp, you are emancipated. You belong to the federal government, and you are an emancipated human being, other than subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the officer and non-commissioned officers above you. You should be able
for all purposes.
For all intensive purposes, you should be in control of your life.
That's not a bad.
And I'll tell you how funny it is. My mother passed away in 1993. Going through her effects was a power of attorney that I gave my mother before I went to Vietnam, that for all of those years, she had a power of attorney and could have done anything in my name she wanted to do. But when you're 17, 18 years old and somebody comes up to you and says, okay, your turn to go to legal, you have to do a power of attorney, you have to do a last will and testament, and you're sitting there going, this shit's starting to get real. I got to do a will. I got to make sure the beneficiary's on my life insurance policy. So in Connecticut, they're trying to say, if anybody under 18 is in your house, blah, 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 I'm sitting there saying, leave me alone. I'll suffer the consequences if something happens, but leave me alone. Leave me alone, leave my rights alone, just leave me alone. That's what I'd like government to do. So I guess I went off on a tangent.
You did, and I kind of forgot where we were at.
You were talking about the proposed law.
Yes.
And
I don't know how we got to that.
The kids want their pictures.
That's
the
where
kids
we were
want
at.
their pictures.
Yes.
If they're shot and killed, show my crime scene photographs to the world.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so I think we kind of concluded that. I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but there is a college bribery scandal going on.
Whoa!
And on Friday, up in District Court in Massachusetts, it was quite a scene. That was
media event,
mainly focused on Lori Loughlin, Felicity Huff. What is her name? Felicity Huffman.
Yeah.
Right. She was there too. Bunch of other people were there, and I looked up the affidavit in support of the arrest warrants for Lori Loughlin, Felicity Huffman, and the other individuals.
How many pages
that were arrested? 204-page affidavit in support of the arrest warrant, and it is so well done. Oh, well, we have a caller. So well done by an FBI agent, Lori. I think it's Lori Smith. Oh, well, let's get JC.
Go ahead, JC.
Hey, nobody's going to jail over the college scandal.
Oh, they absolutely are. They absolutely are. Oh,
They are?
Yes. I just mark it down. I say they are. Not all of them, but they are.
I mean, none of them will do anything more than a day or two or a month.
You have to read what these people did. I just keep listening. I went through the 204-page affidavit and just highlighted a few things to give you an idea what these people did. Oh my God, it's crazy what they did. It's outrageous. And you know what? The fact that they did these things, other people had to have known about it. I think it's the way the world operates for these people. They just do these things all the time.
It's money.
It's just taken for granted.
It's money.
It's unfreaking believable what these people did. And yeah, I think especially the ones that haven't been cooperating, they're going to jail.
JC, let me ask you, JC.
Jesse was going to jail too.
Oh, that is so different.
They're not going to jail.
That is so different.
JC, let me ask you a question. You're at a major crime event in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And you got a police officer that says, I'm sorry, but you can't go down there. And for some reason, some instinct tells you, you say to the cop, look, I got $50. You know, here, go stand over there. Can I get down there? And he takes your $50. Are you going to go down?
Sure, I'll go down.
And if you could pay him $50 to get a $5,000 video clip, would you pay him the $50?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now stop right there. Here is what Rachel is saying, I think. These are people that had the resources, that were told by someone who had cultivated certain college employees, whether they're coaches or trainers or statisticians or whoever, they knew who and where and when and how, and they could simply sit there and say, look, you want your daughter to go to Harvard? You give me $50. You give me $50.
It's not only that. I think
But here's the question for you. How many of these schools are private schools?
the ones that are listed.
Private business is private business.
Yeah, the ones that are listed in the affidavits are all private except for UCLA. That's the only one that I see that's public. But listen, it's not only payoffs to get kids in college, it's fixing the tests, the SATs and the ACTs. I mean, paying off test proctors to go in and change the test, sending other people instead of your son or daughter to go take the test for them. And because they have all the emails between these people, they sound so arrogant and privileged in their communications back and forth. It's so offensive.
Let me tell you, I need to just say something to get this out.
The rich don't go to jail in America.
Hey.
That's what everybody's complaining about. Rich and politicians don't go to jail.
Well, JC, in a majority of cases, I believe that you're somewhat correct, but not 100%. Let me tell you a story. Rocky Hill, Connecticut, early 90s. There's the kid playing on the Rocky Hill High School baseball team. He's a star. Everybody's looking. Every college is looking at
Let
him.
me just interject because you reminded me of something. Most of these kids got in through these athletic scholarships. Rowing, water polo, tennis. These kind of sports. People knew they didn't play these sports. A lot of people knew they didn't play these sports. I mean, this is so widespread among a few. I mean, if you're an Olympic coach for water polo or rowing or whatever, it's not that big of a world, okay? Rowing and water polo, and you're an Olympic coach.
All the kids coming up.
You're watching the kids coming up. You're watching who gets a scholarship to go to the school because you're looking out for somebody good, and you see this kid got a scholarship, and you're like, what's going on
there's no
here?
history. There's no history on
What's
it.
going on
Right.
there?
But let me continue. Let me just.
I know. I remember that day a few years back at my girlfriend's house when colleges could open up and finally talk to them, and every big name in the world contacted her daughter. She would lose out in these situations.
Right.
And I understand how bad that is.
Yeah.
Well, let me.
Private business is private business.
No.
They have to do whatever they have to
No.
do to survive.
Not when mail fraud and everything else is against the law. Let me just tell you another.
Those are federal crimes.
Let me just tell you another aspect of this. These people donated to a nonprofit 501c3 called the Key Worldwide Foundation. The money was laundered and funneled through there. But because it was a 501c3, Lori Loughlin paid $500,000 for her kids to get in college and could deduct it because it was to a charity. No, there are so many facts like that are so outrageous that I think these people are
that the
going to
IRS is going to be involved.
Right.
But let me
Same
fit.
thing as the Clinton scandal, though. Nothing happens to these rich people.
Yeah, well, they didn't get arrested.
Well, if
though.
we keep saying nothing is going to happen, something's probably going to happen.
Right.
But I think Rachel's right. Something's going to happen. But let me just
I hope
finish.
so, because America needs that.
Let me finish this story. The Rocky Hill kid is a star in high school. Every college is looking at him. There's a set of rules for the players. They can't do anything wrong. They can't drink. They can't smoke. These are the high school rules. Well, and it was in my condo complex. The police raided a party. And guess what? The star baseball player is there with a beer in his hand. And the cops pinched the kids, and the kids got caught. And the coach had to deal with them in high school. Well, the parents went absolutely wild in Rocky Hill because, wait, this kid, you can't do this. So there was all kinds of
Because
shenanigans.
they want him to play,
They
right?
wanted all kinds of shenanigans going on. Here's what I'm going to say. If these people were willing to pay to get their kids into college, they were probably paying
They were.
to get them into high school sports.
Yeah.
Because a baseball team has 9 players. And we're going to pick the 9 best players. But somebody offers the coach in the high school 50 grand. Take my kid to be in the left field. Take my kid to be on the team. The coach pockets $50,000 in cash, and the kid's wearing a uniform.
Well, you don't think the guidance counselors at these high schools knew that these kids were getting into these colleges through these kind of
They brag about who goes to college.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it's
But what I'm saying is, if they were willing to do it, to get him into college, they may have been willing to do it to get him into high school sports or to get him into situations. I mean,
they have email communications between the parents and the confidential informants, who is the Yale soccer coach that already I think he
Pled
pleaded
guilty.
already. Ken Singer, the guy from the
Yep.
you know thing in California,
Yep.
the admissions guide. They have emails between these people like, oh, they went out and bought water polo equipment. And then they bring it home to dress the kid in it.
stage a picture.
And then they talk about where they should go to stage the picture. But when they stage the picture, it doesn't look right or it looks fake. So they got it. Oh, he's too far out of the water. People don't get that far out of the water. So they bring him down a little bit in the picture. I mean, the social media and being able to look inside their heads of what these people were doing is what's going to kill them. You know, the world's changed. It used to be you could just look at somebody on the surface and say, oh, they did a bad thing, but they're not a bad person. But when you can look into their heads by looking at their email communications, and you can actually see inside their heads what they were doing, you can't make that argument anymore that they didn't mean it
And
or they were
truth
bad.
is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, you just can't do it anymore.
Listen, JC, we only
I
got
understand, but in America, the rich and a lot of people I know are saying they don't believe anybody's going to go to jail because they're rich.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, that's right. And now think about that. The country looks at this situation and says, nobody's going to go to jail. The country does not trust the judicial system.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to go to jail.
Well, if you look at kind of the rank of what these people did in terms of the amount of money that was used to bribe, I mean, a lot of them are only at the $75,000 point and stuff. Lori Loughlin is heads and shoulders above, her and her husband are heads and shoulders above everybody else in their, in the egregiousness of their acts, and I can't believe that they're not going to jail.
We have 1
Well, I
minute.
got a question for you. Does anybody know if we got a reality TV series coming up concerning these high-profile college chiefs? We going to follow them through prison now?
I don't know.
I-
Listen,
I-
we got a minute left, and there's something I have to say to Rachel.
Okay, goodbye.
Okay?
Bye,
All right.
JC.
Hang up the phone.
Okay.
Rachel, we talk on this show on a regular basis about things that are in the news. I want to just say in closing today that Donald Trump is right when he now says the Mueller investigation was a setup and a scam. Okay? I want to tell you, the Democrats are all over this. They want to pick everything apart and try to prove that the Mueller report is watered down or whatever. You and I attended a media event at the International Chiefs of Police Association where a representative from CNN said he was on the Russian collusion investigation and that there was all of this stuff. Where is it? Where is it? My president needs to be hands off for a while. Leave the man alone. Let him be the president. Let Donald Trump take us in a direction that he's going.
Oh, it's just heating up now. It's going to be even worse.
I believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. But the Democrats are going to implode when they all start talking and then they all refuse to talk. For example, they all refused to vote on that Green Deal AOC wanted, and they all said present. Listen, we're out of time. The light's on in Master Control. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much for tuning in. And please support News Now Houston, News Now San Diego, and Summary Judgment Talk Show on YouTube.
Bye, everybody.